A divide within the Guam Bar Association. Parties appearing before justices at the Supreme Court of Guam this week. The argument is over the establishment of a new third category within the bar. This would specifically put temporary active members into a category of their own. Historically, there have only been two groups within the Guam Bar, active and inactive attorneys. Attorneys under the temporary status are allowed to actively practice law on Guam without taking the Guam Bar exam.
Maybe one of the ways to do this is if there is going to be a recognized category of temporary active members, would be to amend the rules and to allow all of the rights and franchise to extend to them.
Attorney Jordan Paulin says the crux of the oral arguments is centered on the conflict. This proposed category, as outlined in new legislation, violates the Supreme Court rules governing the Guam Bar. He believes the bar wanted the category to be formally recognized, so attorneys under temporary active status can be deprived of certain rights compared to full active attorneys. He emphasized that despite these attorneys acquiring residency on the island and actively serving the people of Guam, they don't have rights to vote and hold office positions within the Guam Bar Association.
This is an unprecedented change and marginalization. The GBA is not meant to serve only the private bar. It is meant for all attorneys. The local representation, the community connection, the commitment to residency, and the accessibility can be certainly fulfilled by people that have either in whole or in part spent their time here in Guam as temporary members. None of that is a justification for taking away their right to vote.
However, attorney Vince Camacho, representing the Guam Bar, argues that one of the reasons for the prohibition, certain position statutes and requirements do not distinguish between the two forms of active statuses and pose an unfair disadvantage for those who have actually taken the exam.
If a temporary inactive is allowed to practice on Guam for 8 years, if you go to the appointment of judicial judges, the requirement is 7 years. So does this mean someone who's not barred on Guam, who has met the 7-year residential and durational requirement, is allowed to be appointed on Guam? So that's a question that the board raised. And so in trying to answer that question through the board's governance, the board said, all we're doing is we're saying we need to distinguish this because
Camacho contends this is not a creation of a third category, arguing active attorneys on temporary status are still practicing on island. He adds while those temporary status attorneys are not able to vote or hold office positions, they are allowed to participate in committees on the bar as well as bar-related events. Justices are now mulling over the arguments and will issue a decision. Julian Hernandez, KUAM News.